The Shining isn't just a movie, it's a nightmare that refuses to fade. From that first slow glide through the Colorado mountains to Jack Torrance's final frozen stare, The Shining has terrified and fascinated audiences for over 4 decades. But behind the scenes, the story gets even darker. Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of Stephen King's horror masterpiece wasn't just about haunted hallways and ghostly bartenders. It was about control, obsession, and a director who blurred the line between fiction and psychological torture. And what's truly chilling is that much of what made The Shining so unforgettable, the tension, the madness, the fear, wasn't acting at all. Today, we're unlocking the doors of the Overlook Hotel to uncover 20 scary facts you didn't know about The Shining. Hidden details, on-set horror stories, and psychological secrets that are as disturbing as the film itself. So grab your axe, pour a drink at the Gold Room bar, and whatever you do, don't go into room 237. Number 1. The movie that drove its cast to madness. Stanley Kubrick didn't just direct The Shining, he engineered it like a psychological experiment. Kubrick was infamous for his perfectionism, but on The Shining, that perfection became something darker. He demanded over 100 takes for a single shot, sometimes of the smallest details. One scene between Shelley Duvall and Jack Nicholson was filmed 127 times, setting a Guinness World Record for most takes in a dialogue scene. The result? Duvall's hair literally began falling out from stress. Her voice became hoarse from constant screaming. Kubrick reportedly isolated her from the rest of the cast and crew, instructing everyone to show her no sympathy. He wanted her fear to be real, and it was. In interviews years later, Shelley Duvall described the experience as almost unbearable, saying it took her years to emotionally recover from the production. But Kubrick's cruelty had its purpose, at least in his mind. He believed that true terror could only come from breaking an actor's stability. And when you rewatch The Shining today, the trembling hands, the hollow eyes, you realize something chilling. Shelley Duvall wasn't acting, she was surviving. Number 2. Jack Nicholson's descent was no act. Jack Nicholson is legendary for his intensity, but The Shining pushed him further than ever before. To get into character as Jack Torrance, the struggling writer-turned-madman, Nicholson reportedly lived on a diet of cheese sandwiches for weeks, a food he despised, just to stay irritable and unhinged. He also refused to rehearse scenes calmly. Instead, he would psych himself into fury moments before each take. When Nicholson swung the axe into that bathroom door, the one that leads to the iconic line, "Here's Johnny," he wasn't acting, he was genuinely enraged. Kubrick had the prop team build dozens of real wooden doors for that scene because Jack, a former volunteer firefighter, was too strong. He kept breaking through them too easily. It took 3 days to film the full sequence. 3 days of screaming, swinging, and chaos. When Shelley Duvall recalls that moment, she says Nicholson's energy felt dangerous, like he wasn't fully there. And if you look closely at his eyes during that famous shot, wild, bloodshot, feral, you might just agree. Because in that moment, Jack Nicholson wasn't just playing Jack Torrance, he was Jack Torrance. Number 3. The impossible architecture of the Overlook Hotel. Something about the Overlook Hotel feels wrong, and that's not by accident. Kubrick deliberately designed the hotel's layout to break your subconscious sense of space. Hallways that lead nowhere, windows that shouldn't exist, rooms that defy logic. Film theorists later mapped the entire hotel and found that it's architecturally impossible. For example, when Ullman walks Jack through his office at the start, there's a window behind his desk.
Well, it's certainly got plenty of that. That's right.
But based on the building's layout, that room couldn't possibly have an exterior wall. Your brain doesn't consciously notice it, but it feels it. That subtle confusion makes the Overlook feel like a living maze, a place that traps not just the Torrance family, but the viewer too. Kubrick wanted you to experience spatial anxiety, that subconscious discomfort of being lost somewhere familiar. It's why those long tracking shots of Danny on his tricycle feel both mesmerizing and unsettling. The geography never quite adds up, and that's the genius of Kubrick. He turned architecture into a weapon. Every turn of the hallway pulls you deeper into the Overlook, a hotel that shouldn't exist, yet somehow feels terrifyingly real. Number 4. The Haunting of Room 237. Every horror fan knows it, Room 237. The door, the key, the woman in the bathtub. It's one of the most disturbing sequences in film history, and behind it lies a mix of real-world fear, censorship, and strange coincidences that only deepen the mystery. In Stephen King's novel, the haunted room was room 217, but the Timberline Lodge, the real hotel used for exterior shots, asked Kubrick to change the number. They feared guests would avoid staying in room 217 after the movie's release. Kubrick agreed, inventing a fictional room, 237. But here's where it gets creepy. Some fans later discovered that the Earth is 237,000 miles from the moon, fueling conspiracy theories that The Shining was Kubrick's secret confession about faking the Apollo moon landing. Absurd? Maybe. But the numbers, the symbolism, and Kubrick's obsession with secrecy made it believable enough for many. And then there's the bathtub scene itself. To achieve the skin-crawling transformation from beautiful woman to rotting corpse, Kubrick used a combination of practical effects and quick cuts. But what made it truly horrifying wasn't the makeup, it was the silence. No jump scares, no music, just the sound of breath and water. That stillness makes the scene linger in your mind long after it ends, the same way the Overlook lingers in Jack's mind. Number 5. The blood elevator. Almost broke the film. Few images in cinema are as iconic, or disturbing, as the elevator of blood. That slow, crimson flood pouring from the doors has been analyzed, parodied, and referenced for decades, but filming it was a nightmare. Kubrick was obsessed with getting it perfect. The blood had to move like water, not too thick, not too thin. He had his team mix hundreds of gallons of a custom blend of fake blood to achieve the right texture and color. The entire set was built just for that shot, including real working elevator doors. When they rolled cameras for the first take, it failed. The blood didn't flow right. The doors jammed. Everything had to be cleaned up and reset, a process that took 9 days. They did it again and again, for nearly a year. It wasn't until the third attempt that Kubrick finally nodded and said, "That's it, one shot, 3 years of planning, 9 days between resets, and all for a scene that lasts less than 30 seconds. When a journalist later asked Kubrick why he obsessed over it, he simply said, "The blood has to look real." But what's most haunting is how calm he said it, like the man had seen that hallway before. Number 6. Danny's silent terror. While most child actors are shielded from a film's darker material, 6-year-old Danny Lloyd was the rare exception, though he never actually knew he was making a horror movie. Kubrick went to extreme lengths to protect him from fear. Every gruesome scene was filmed with clever edits or stand-ins.
Come and play with us.
When Danny rides his tricycle through those endless corridors, the tension we feel isn't his, it's ours. Kubrick told him it was a drama about a family living in a hotel. The young actor didn't see the real cut of The Shining until he was 17. What's fascinating is how Kubrick still drew a haunting performance without letting Danny know what was happening. He used simple cues, look surprised, look scared of something behind the camera, and stitched them together to create genuine terror. That's why his eyes look so real. They're reacting to Kubrick himself, the unknown behind the lens. It's eerie to realize the director manipulated even innocence to make the Overlook come alive. Number 7. The script that kept changing. Actors usually learn their lines. On The Shining, they couldn't. Kubrick rewrote scenes daily, often moments before shooting. Jack Nicholson stopped reading new drafts entirely, joking that they'd change again by lunch. This unpredictability created a sense of real confusion, especially during the family's arguments. When Jack shouts at Wendy for interrupting his writing,
"Distracting me, and it will then take me time to get back to where I was. Understand?"
Yeah?
that venom feels spontaneous, because in many ways, it was. Nicholson himself called the set a living maze, and that's exactly what Kubrick wanted, for his cast to be just as lost as the audience. That ever-shifting script infused every scene with a sense of instability. You never quite know what's real or imagined. It mirrors Jack Torrance's mind, unraveling line by line, rewrite by rewrite. Number 8. The hidden meanings of the typewriter. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Those words appear hundreds of times on Jack's manuscript.
I'm not being grouchy. I just want to finish my work.
But here's the secret most viewers miss. The text changes. Kubrick shot versions in different languages for each international release: Italian, German, Spanish, French, so that audiences everywhere would feel the same shock when Wendy realizes Jack's insanity. But beyond translation, there's deeper symbolism. Kubrick chose a German typewriter brand, Adler, which means eagle, a national emblem tied to power, authority, and, according to some film historians, hints of fascist control. Each key's clack became part of the movie's rhythm, a percussive reminder of Jack's obsession and Kubrick's perfectionism. Even the pages themselves were hand-typed by a production secretary, thousands of them. No photocopies, every single page unique. When you see Wendy flip through that stack trembling, you're not just seeing prop paper, you're seeing months of labor, madness, and Kubrick's insistence that even the details no one would notice had to be perfect. Number 9. The Native American symbolism. Few viewers realize The Shining is layered with quiet commentary on America's buried violence. Throughout the hotel, you see Native American motifs. Wall art, textiles, totems, even the pantry is stacked with cans of Calumet baking powder featuring a Native chief logo. Film scholars believe Kubrick used these as a visual metaphor. The Overlook Hotel, built on the literal and metaphorical burial ground of a nation's guilt. Remember the line early on? It's built on an Indian burial ground. That wasn't just dialogue. It was Kubrick's way of saying, the past always bleeds through the walls. The blood-red elevator, the echoes of the dead, their history refusing to stay silent. It's why The Shining feels less like a ghost story and more like a curse, a place haunted not by spirits, but by sins. Number 10. Kubrick's obsession with symmetry. Every frame of The Shining looks precise, almost unnaturally so.
Red rum! Red rum! Red rum! Red rum! Red rum!
That's because Kubrick was obsessed with symmetry, shooting in perfect central compositions that make the Overlook feel orderly, until it's not. Notice the twin girls in the hallway, centered, identical, motionless. It's one of the most balanced images in cinema, and that balance makes the horror more disturbing when it breaks. Kubrick's camera doesn't flinch. It glides, calm, deliberate, patient. That stillness becomes tension. By framing chaos with symmetry, he created a visual contradiction, the feeling that something evil hides behind perfection. You can pause any frame of The Shining and it looks like art, but look long enough and you'll start to see what the symmetry hides, a director's meticulous descent into controlled madness. Number 11. The moon landing theory. Few movies in history have generated as many conspiracy theories as The Shining, but the most infamous? That it's Stanley Kubrick's secret confession to faking the Apollo 11 moon landing. It sounds insane, until you start noticing the clues. Danny's iconic sweater, the one with the rocket ship and the word Apollo 11 USA, isn't random.
Mom!
Kubrick reportedly had costume designer Milena Canonero knit it specifically for that scene. And what's the room Danny enters while wearing it? Room 237, symbolically tied to the moon's distance from Earth, 237,000 miles. Even the carpet pattern looks eerily similar to NASA's launch pad design. Fans claim Kubrick used the Overlook Hotel as a metaphor for a lie that haunted him, a project that, like the hotel itself, was built on deception and isolation. Of course, Kubrick never confirmed it, but he never denied it either. And that's exactly how he liked it. Mystery as manipulation. Even in death, Kubrick still controls the story. Number 12. The Red Room scene was completely improvised. Red Room, a word that became a horror legend, and one of cinema's most unsettling reveals. Here's what most fans don't know. The scene where Danny repeats Red Room over and over, and it was almost entirely improvised. Kubrick told young Danny Lloyd to say something scary. He had no idea what the word meant. It wasn't until Wendy turns and sees the mirror, revealing murder, that Danny realized what he'd been saying. Kubrick captured that genuine confusion on film. The sound design, the trembling voice, the echo in the empty hallway amplifies it into pure nightmare fuel. Even more disturbing, the word Red Room appears subtly in other parts of the hotel, carved into walls, reflected in glass, as if it's trying to warn the characters before they notice it. Kubrick's genius was turning a single word into an omen. It's not just murder spelled backward, it's the movie itself, reality reversed. Number 13. The snow was made of salt and styrofoam. That final chase through the maze, it looks freezing, but in truth, it was hot as hell. The massive hedge maze was built on a soundstage at Elstree Studios in London. The snow covering the ground was a mix of crushed styrofoam and 900 tons of salt. Under the stage lights, the temperature soared above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius. Jack Nicholson and Danny Lloyd were drenched in sweat while pretending to freeze to death. The actor's breath? Fake. Added later with visual effects? Even crazier. The styrofoam and salt blend was so realistic that it was later reused in Empire Strikes Back for the Hoth planet scenes. So, in a way, Jack Torrance and Luke Skywalker shared the same snow. One ran from ghosts, the other from the Empire. Both iconic, both born from movie magic that almost killed the crew. Number 14. Here's Johnny. Wasn't in the script. It's the line that defined Jack Nicholson's career, and it wasn't even written. During filming of the bathroom scene, Kubrick's script simply said, "Jack breaks through the door." Nicholson, inspired by Johnny Carson's late-night show intro, "Here's Johnny," ad-libbed the line in the moment.
Here's Johnny!
Kubrick almost cut it, not understanding the American TV reference, but once he saw how chillingly it fit Nicholson's manic energy, he kept it in. The scene became one of the most parodied and analyzed in film history. Even Stephen King, who famously disliked Kubrick's adaptation, admitted that Nicholson's delivery was unforgettable. And here's a dark twist. That moment wasn't just scary for audiences. Shelley Duvall was genuinely terrified. Nicholson's axe came within inches of her face as real splinters flew from the wooden door. No wonder her screams sound so real. They were. Number 15. The Overlook Hotel. Still exists, sort of. While Kubrick shot most of The Shining on sound stages in England, the Timberline Lodge in Oregon served as the hotel's exterior. Fans still visit it today, but you won't find a room 237. As mentioned earlier, the hotel requested the number change from 217 to avoid scaring guests. Ironically, room 217 is now the most requested suite. But here's where it gets weird. Visitors claim to have experienced strange phenomena: flickering lights, whispers in the halls, even cold spots. Staff members have confirmed guests frequently report seeing a man with an axe on the upper floors. Whether it's hysteria or haunting, one thing's for sure. Kubrick's film blurred fiction and reality so effectively that the real Timberline Lodge became part of the legend. The Overlook isn't just a movie set anymore. It's a place where people still check in, and sometimes wish they hadn't. Number 16. The hidden faces in the frame. If you ever pause The Shining mid-frame, you might see something you weren't supposed to.
I think we should discuss Danny.
Fans and analysts have discovered hidden faces in the Overlook's decor, patterns that seem to form human outlines in the wallpaper, furniture, and even the carpet. Kubrick never confirmed these apparitions, but his obsession with symmetry and geometry makes it possible. In interviews, crew members admitted that Kubrick would adjust props by inches just to create subconscious tension in the composition. Some believe he intentionally placed pareidolia, the human tendency to see faces in random shapes, to make audiences feel watched. It's subtle, unnerving, and brilliantly psychological. Because in The Shining, you're never sure if the hotel is alive or if it's you losing your mind. Number 17. A real psychic inspired The Shining. Stephen King's idea for The Shining didn't come from ghosts. It came from a real psychic child he once met. King and his wife stayed at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, where they were the only guests just before it closed for winter. That night, he reportedly had a dream about his son running through the halls, screaming. The next morning, King wrote the framework for The Shining.
Tony, I'm scared.
But later, he revealed something stranger. He'd been told about a boy at a nearby town who claimed to see things before they happened. The boy's name? Danny. King said the coincidence gave him chills, as if he had written something that already existed. When Kubrick adapted the novel, he leaned heavily into that psychic idea, The Shining itself, but twisted it into something darker, more psychological, less about gifts, more about curses. Number 18. Kubrick's daughter documented the madness. Stanley Kubrick's daughter, Vivian Kubrick, filmed a behind-the-scenes documentary during production, and it's one of the most unsettling glimpses into filmmaking ever captured. Titled Making the Shining, the footage shows Nicholson pacing like a caged animal before takes, Duvall crying off camera, and Kubrick quietly orchestrating it all like a conductor of chaos. At one point, Kubrick's voice can be heard, calm but cold. It's real because it's happening. Vivian later said her father wanted to make the most terrifying film ever made, not just to watch, but to experience.
Give me the bat. Ready? Give me the bat. Give me the bat.
Watching that documentary today, you realize The Shining wasn't just a horror movie. It was an experiment in fear, on screen and off, and everyone involved paid a price for it. Number 19. The ending that no one understands. Even decades later, fans still debate The Shining's ending. Jack frozen in the maze, the camera zooming into that photograph from 1921, revealing Jack smiling among long-dead guests. So what does it mean? Kubrick's answer was simple and cryptic. The photograph suggests reincarnation. To him, Jack had always been part of the Overlook, trapped in a cycle, doomed to relive the madness over and over. But others see it differently, as a metaphor for addiction, violence, and how evil consumes identity.
Not by the hair on your chinny chin chin.
No matter the interpretation, the final frame lingers because it feels eternal. The Overlook doesn't end, it absorbs. And that photograph, it's not just showing Jack's past, it's waiting for hours. Number 20. The Shining's legacy still haunts Hollywood. When The Shining first premiered in 1980, critics hated it. They called it slow, confusing, even soulless. But time had other plans. Today, it's recognized as one of the greatest horror films ever made, influencing everything from Hereditary to The Blair Witch Project and even Dr. Sleep, the 2019 sequel that continued Danny's story. Directors like Jordan Peele and Ari Aster cite Kubrick's precision and dread as their biggest inspiration. And every Halloween, new generations rediscover it. The eerie corridors, the whispering ghosts, the sound of that typewriter echoing down the hall. Because The Shining isn't just a movie, it's a mirror.
Danny, what happened to your neck? Danny, what happened to your neck?
One that reflects the darkness in its characters and in us. 45 years later, The Shining remains a masterpiece of fear. A film that gets under your skin not with jump scares, but with silence, symmetry, and madness. Kubrick built a horror film that never ends, one that follows you long after the credits fade. Every time you rewatch it, The Overlook feels a little different, a little closer. So now it's your turn. Which moment from The Shining still gives you chills? Was it Jack's axe, the twins in the hallway, or the slow rumble of Danny's tricycle on that patterned carpet? Let us know in the comments. We love hearing your stories and memories from the films that shaped us. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to RewatchClub, where we bring forgotten classics and hidden movie secrets back to life, one frame at a time, because nostalgia always finds a way back.